Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube for the latest episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones. And coming up on today's episode, the Denver Broncos were back at practice today as they look to host the New England Patriots this Sunday. We'll hear from head coach Sean Payton, quarterback Russell Wilson, wide receiver Cortland Sutton, and safety Justin Simmons. All that and more coming up. The Denver Broncos were back at practice today as they look to face the New England Patriots at Empower Field at Mile High this Sunday. And head coach Sean Payton talked today about the team's mindset in their juice on the practice field today.
I tell them to get away, and yet, they're going to come in, get a lift. They're going to look at tape. They're going to get treatment. And, I'll always talk with Dan, our strength coach, and Bo in the training room. And these guys they've been real good. They're resilient. I'm sure they're looking forward to getting back and playing at home here, and they know how important this game is.
And looking at the matchup, head coach Sean Payton talked about his impressions of the Patriots so far this season.
I just finished saying this. Make sure we know the opponent. I can't. 7-8 of these one-score games just go down the schedule, and you just have to look at the tape. They're near the top of the league in every category defensively. They're first in the league in rushing defense, red zone defense, third down. I mean, all those stats that they make it difficult for big plays. They stay on top. I think they're near 1 or 2 in big plays given up. So they've been in a lot of close games, and I think when you watch the film, you can see that. You can see all of those things. Obviously, they've had a quarterback change, and we've got to have our best week of preparation to get ready for these guys.
Quarterback Russell Wilson also talked about the Patriots' defense and the fact that he knows Bill Belichick will try and take away his number one option.
Well, obviously, Coach Belichick's one of the best of all time. Obviously, he'll have those guys prepared, and they'll do different things. Obviously, they do a really good job. They're really well coached. They're really sharp. We're going to have to trust our eyes, trust what we see. The run game, the pass game, all that stuff, and just play clean football. I mean, we've got a lot of guys that can make a lot of plays, and we're excited to get after it and play at home.
And wide receiver Cortland Sutton also spoke on that and talked about how he'll look to approach that.
I go into each game just preparing as if it's a regular situation. Going in and making sure that Russ has confidence in me and all the routes that we have put in, that way. Because I feel like if you go into it with a mindset of, they're probably going to take this away, and then you don't take it serious, and then they don't take it away, and then, y'all don't have that time, and then, you're kind of limiting yourself in that situation. But, yeah, just going into it with, the mindset of, making sure that I'm ready and prepared for, whatever play gets called, because you never know the look that we might get in a certain situation. And then if that is the case and it does wind up happening, then you can look at it as a respect thing, especially a defensive minded coach that has had as much success as he's had in this league. You look at it as, I guess you could say it's a respect thing, but just going into it trying to be as prepared as possible so that whenever the opportunities do arise and we do find the looks that we like, ready.
Sean Payton also talked today about how critical ball security will be for this team on a Sunday, and Russell Wilson agreed.
For sure. I think conversions, getting first downs, and third down, and finding explosive plays every once in a while, whether if it's through a handoff or through a deep shot or through a shallow cross or a short little throw or whatever it is, it's like, they do a really good job of not missing tackles and making their plays and everything else. So you got to find ways to create plays. I think you also got to be patient too, knowing that they're going to do a really good job and be coached really well. But at the end of the day, I think that we got to find a way to score one more point than they do.
And safety Justin Simmons talked about what the keys will be to getting this defense back on track.
Yeah, no, really confident. Detroit, they have a heck of an offense, and we knew that going into it. And it was a huge challenge for us and just one we didn't meet. We didn't play nearly as well as we needed to, and we didn't execute well enough. And obviously, the takeaways weren't there. And so we need to do a lot better job this week, especially coming back at home and protecting home turf. And this is going to be a big game for us, obviously a big AFC game. So really looking forward to this one.
And this will be the first time the Broncos are playing out in Power Field at Mile High so far this month. And Russell Wilson talked about what it means to be back at home.
It's going to be a great battle, and it's, Sunday night football and Christmas Eve. So it's going to be. We're going to need our fans too. Our fans are going to bring a lot of energy. I'm excited about that, playing in front of them again. And playing at home, all the juice, all the energy of Christmas Eve, and just seeing all the orange. It's going to be a special night for us all, and we got to play our best game.
And both Justin Simmons and Russell Wilson talked about finishing this season strong and winning out.
This is going to be huge, man. And I think I know I talked about it week by week. Big picture. Small picture focus is, just week by week. And so obviously this one being the biggest game of the season, we got to get this one in order to continue to keep saying, the next week's the biggest game and the next week's the biggest game. You look up, we tell the guys all the time, man, we'll just look up after these 3 games are over and we'll just see where we're at. But I'm so excited, to be in meaningful games down here in the stretch. And, nothing's better than Sunday night football, so really looking forward to this game.
We're sitting here at 7-7, and I think some people think we're out of it. I don't believe so. We got some good football to play. We're excited about it. We haven't played our best game yet, a collective team. I think that we've played some really great ones, but there's more to do, and so we're going to have our best week of practice this week and see what we can do this week.
Now it's time to take a look at today's injury report. Outside linebacker Nick Bonito, tight end Greg Dulcich, and running back Samaje Perine all did not participate in practice today. Meanwhile, outside linebacker Jonathan Cooper and tackle Alex Palczewski were both limited participants. Now joining me here inside the Broncos podcast studio for a more in-depth look at today's news is a fellow team reporter, Phil Milani. Phil, thanks for joining the show again.
Sydney, it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, so
that means
it's
Broncos Now time.
Yeah. Always a pleasure to have you on, Phil. A lot to talk about today. I know kind of one of the main focuses today, just around some of the guys that talked to the media and head coach Sean Payton, was just the identity of Bill Belichick's teams.
Oh, yeah.
Just, they call it the Patriot way up there, and how disciplined and how prepared they are going into these games. Like, this is going to be, I think a harder matchup than a lot of people think going into this one.
Yeah, most definitely. The Patriots, they only have 3 wins, but this is a well-coached team, obviously. Yeah. Bill Belichick is probably the best coach of all time. Right. So you know that they're going to come in well-coached, and particularly on the defensive side of the ball, that's still a really talented defense. Yeah. They've lost 3 games by 10 points or less. Like the opposing team has scored 10 points or less, and still has beaten the Patriots. So it's sort of an anomaly there. I think that on the defensive side, it's going to be really tough for Russell Wilson and company to move the ball and put up a lot of points. So that means that they're going to have to really take care of the ball and then make the most of the opportunities that they do get. Running the football is going to be really difficult against this team. So, Bill Belichick is still Bill Belichick. Even though the success hasn't quite been there, I think they're going to miss the playoffs for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. Right. So it's strange talking about the Patriots this way, because for so long, every year they were just an AFC championship game,
right.
And they were sort of like, you hated the Patriots because they were just so good. Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily that kind of a team, but they're still a much better team than their record indicates.
Definitely, Phil. And, head coach Sean Payton, he said, like you mentioned, this is going to be a matchup between 2 really good defenses. And I think that's really going to determine the game. Something you said, how critical it's going to be to hold on to the ball security this weekend.
Yeah, I think that just like the way the last game started against the Lions, the Broncos get a couple of big plays there. They move the ball all the way down the field, and then Russ gets it stripped. That kind of just sort of set a tone, in my opinion. That was just sort of like, something kind of felt off. It happened the week before against the Chargers when he threw that interception on the very first play. Broncos were able to overcome that and still get the victory there. Not the same against the Lions. And, the Broncos offense really had a hard time moving the ball against the Lions, particularly in that first half. Yeah. And so they're going to have to kind of work through some things here against the Patriots. This is a talented defense like we talked about. So whenever there is that opportunity to score a touchdown, they're going to have to get it put the ball in the box, as they used to say around here. So,
yeah, Phil, going off of that, were you talking about Bill Belichick's defense? He does such a good job at taking away, the top option on offense, and both Cortland Sutton and Russell Wilson talked about that today. So, maybe we'll see a little bit more of Jerry Jeudy, get him more involved and
Yeah.
get him more catches out there.
That's sort of like a smart approach, like
Yeah.
with the Patriots always like to look. You like to throw to Cortland Sutton.
Right.
He's got all these touchdowns this year. We're going to try and make you play a different style. And Sean Payton put it in a nice way. He says like they sort of make you play with your left hand, like
Right.
they make it just a little difficult for you. So yeah, they're going to have to find other ways to be able to create that big play. And Jerry Jeudy had one of his better games of the season against the Lions. So
Yeah,
have to see if
that's true.
they could get him in rhythm a little bit more. I think one of Jerry's like biggest strong suits is yards after the catch. So
Definitely.
like getting the ball to him in a way that allows him to run after he catches it. That's a big thing. I think that the Broncos can try and work on that. And that's something that he's really good at. So yeah, this could be a big opportunity for Jerry Jeudy to get in the mix more.
Absolutely. And Phil, on the other side of the ball for the Broncos, I know this Broncos defense is looking to get back on track. We heard Justin Simmons say that earlier in the show. What do you think is just key to doing that this weekend?
Well, Josie Jewell talked about it inside the locker room too. He just said like, last week guys were maybe trying to make that big play, trying to do like a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And not just sticking to fundamentals. And earlier this week, Sean Payton talked about gap integrity and how important that is. I really think for this Broncos defense, everything starts with stopping the run. And they were not able to do that against the Lions. Then it opened up some big plays in the passing game, and it kind of just starts to snowball a little bit. Stop the run, play fundamentally sound. Then you get back to that defensive style that the Broncos had a lot of success with during that 5-game winning streak. You start taking the ball away, you start making life tough. And look, Bailey Zappi, that Patriots offense, I think, is last in the NFL in scoring. So the Broncos defense has an opportunity here this week to sort of make a statement and say, look, last week was sort of an outlier in terms of what we are about, especially after getting things corrected. Earlier, it's almost like there's like 3 parts of the season.
Yeah.
There's the beginning part of the season for this Broncos team. Then there's like that winning streak.
5-game winning
and then
streak,
there's the last 3 games. And so which Broncos defense is the real Broncos defense? I think that there's an opportunity this week to say, look, that was just an outlier last week. The Lions are really explosive on offense. We're really that same defense that you saw win 5 games in a row.
Yeah, definitely. And we saw safety Kareem Jackson. He was back at practice today. They have the ability to activate him this week. Head coach Sean Payton said, not sure where they'll go, but happy to have him back.
Yeah, did not want to give anything away there with what their plans were for Kareem. But, I know Justin Simmons, obviously, the chemistry and connection that they have, Justin even said, hey, just even on a more personal level, just having K-Jack back in the building, getting to see him, talk to him, ask him about the family and that kind of thing was just nice. So I do think that PJ Locke has done a really nice job.
Fantastic job.
Stepping in there for K-Jack. And so if they do decide to bring K-Jack up and make that roster move, then I still anticipate PJ Locke playing a lot. But Sean Payton did not really give any kind of hints there. So it will be interesting to see what the Broncos do. Obviously, K-Jack is a valuable member of this Broncos defense, able to make plays, is taking the ball away a couple times so far this season in his limited action. So when he is out there, he's able to make a lot of plays. So I'm interested to see what the Broncos play or what their play is here with K-Jack.
For sure. Something to watch this week. Definitely. Phil, another topic of conversation today was just the fact that this team, needs to win out here. And something Russ said that kind of stuck with me. He said, we haven't even played our best game yet.
Yeah.
And that, makes me excited for the rest of the season here and to see where they can go.
Yeah, and that's just Russ's positive mindset, is like, hey,
I like the positivity.
The next game's going to be our best game.
Yeah.
That's sort of his mindset always. And I think that if you just look at the percentages, like if the Broncos lose this game, their chances of making the playoffs are like 3%.
Yeah.
So, that's like the next gen stats coming up with those numbers there. So it is a crucial game for the Broncos. And, the way I sort of look at it is like, hey, if this team wants to be a playoff team and wants to be considered one of the better teams in the NFL, this is a game that you should win. You're back at home. The Patriots only have 3 wins this season. They're still a talented football team, but if you want to be one of the better teams in the league, this is a game that you should win. And look, I think that going on the road 3 weeks in a row, that is hard.
It's hard. It's tough.
That's exhausting. And I've heard Russ talk a couple of times now, just saying, "Look, we're excited to get back in front of our home fans and play in front of the orange and blue here, and should be a special atmosphere on Sunday night. It's Christmas Eve. It's a primetime game. Might be some flurries in the forecast. It should be sort of a gearing up to be a big game here. And it makes me think back to 2015, Sid, where the Broncos beat the Patriots in overtime in a snow game. And that really sparked that year's team. We'll see. Maybe the Broncos can find some of their mojo again. And I just think that this league is so week to week. Where if you win a game, that next week you're just all positive and everything feels good in the building. You lose a game, everything feels sort of down and anxious to get back out on the field. And I think that's where this Broncos team is right now, is like they knew that was a big game against the Lions. They didn't play their best football. They know that they're better than what they showcased on Saturday. And so they're eager to get back out there on the field and especially back at home. And I just think that there's a lot gearing up to this one. The season is sort of in the balance, if you want to say it that way. And they know what's on the line here. So the energy is sort of that's sort of the vibe I'm picking up, just being in the locker room around the guys.
I completely agree. I think it should be a fun one. You mentioned it, Christmas Eve, back at home. I'm excited to be back at home for sure. You have some family coming to the game, Phil, for Christmas?
It should be fun.
That'd be nice.
Hopefully get a Broncos victory. That always makes everybody leave the stadium in a good mood. So, I just think that this is a big one for this Broncos team. And you talk about trying to go 3-0 here to end the season. You got to take it one at a time. But, if you're able to win 3 in a row and head into the playoffs with some momentum, that's where you want to be. So I think all teams are trying to win every game here to close out the season, and the Broncos, that's certainly their mindset here moving forward.
Yep, I agree. Well, Phil, appreciate you coming on the show today.
Thanks, Sid. Appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Broncos Now. Broncos Country, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow for another episode. I will see you all then.